Last Saturday, I got a text message from Dr. Yaravan Saeed asking me if I had a minute to talk. I did. We are on a first name basis, so I called him myself. He wanted to know if I could address you this evening about the significance of Newroz for the peoples that observe it in general and the Kurds in particular. I happened to be in Staunton, Virginia for some hiking and sightseeing with my family. I told them, let me clear it with my family and get back to you. My family was on board. They love Kurdish food and they love Kurdish dancing, but I still had some questions for Yerevan. I texted him saying I was mindful of the fact that Newroz's main draw was dancing and food, and that my talk at best would serve as a dispensable garnish on the side. I added I didn't want to be placed between the food and the audience, and the dancing and the celebrants. And finally I said about the length of the talk, less is more. Yerevan, being a gracious host that he is, agreed with all my suggestions. I, in turn, agreed to give this talk. There was an additional reason to honor his kind invitation. Imagine there's a country called the United States of Newroz, just like the United States of America. In America, Washington is the capital. We happen to be its residents or visitors. We are here to celebrate Newroz, a holiday observed primarily in Western Asia, which includes the lands of the Kurds. In the United States of Newroz, Amed, also known as Diyarbakir, for sure would be its capital. 11 days ago, close to 1 million Kurds and their friends gathered at Newroz Square in the Kurdish capital to celebrate the holiday with music, occasional speeches, and dancing that lasted for hours. Mrs. Saeed and Yerevan have named their son Amed. Where are you?
Amed, where are you? It's right here.
Amed happens to be my hometown. Turks will not let me visit it. Yes, I miss it very much. But if I can't be in Amed, I will honor its namesake, the precocious second child of Houtin and Yerevan, and do my bit with this encomium to Newroz and what it means to celebrate it in the United States. The United States of America was established 248 years ago. It was conceived in the Age of Enlightenment, and we know the founding fathers, my favorites, Paine and Franklin, as we know our favorite professors and authors. The beginnings of the United States of Newroz go back to primordial times. We have the date right, March 21st, but the rest belongs to the realm of imagination. The Persians associate the beginnings of Newroz, the new day, with their Shah, Jamshid. They say in his times there was health and happiness plenty. Hunger and thirst were not known. There was no aging, no debility, no disease. Now, real or imagined, such a time, I would say, deserves our notice and celebration. The Kurdish collective imagination has taken a different route. We associate Newroz to Kawa, a Kurdish ironsmith. His mission was to overthrow a cruel king. He did. He made bonfires to celebrate the occasion and also spread the regicide in that pre-internet age with bonfires from hilltop to hilltop till all Kurds were aware of it. They called the auspicious day Newroz, the new day. We are talking about the times of Homer in ancient Greece. We are talking about the fall of Troy in antiquity, located in Western Turkey today. Western Asia hadn't heard of the Turks then, but today the Turks rule at least half of what we fondly call Kurdistan. With the rise of Islam, Newroz lost some of its luster, but has made it to the modern times. About 300 million people celebrate Newroz according to the UNESCO. Newroz, at least the Kurdish version, faced an existential threat with the advent of modern states in the Middle East about 100 years ago. When I was in my teens in the 70s, we were not allowed to celebrate it in the Turkish misruled Kurdistan. We were allowed to whisper about its significance, and that was it. You could say that our rulers were cruel, and you would be right. Cruelty gives birth to rebellion, and our youth were happy to play their part. It didn't take them long to realize that the times were calling for a second Kawa, this time armed not with a hammer, but with a box of matches. We have children in the audience. I will not go into the details of what Muslim Doğan did in the Amed military prison on March 21, 1982. Suffice it to note that he cracked the darkness with the fire of modern Newroz that can never be extinguished again. His example was followed by Zekiye Alkan, also in Amed, and Rashan Demirel in Izmir. Today, Newroz is stronger than its ill wishers. Today, in fact, the Turkish ruling circles are claiming it as its own, as their own, to dampen the enthusiasm of the Kurds with its symbolic significance. I started with Staunton, Virginia, and would like to end it with its Frontier Culture Museum, a beautiful place that my family and I visited after my talk with Yerevan. The museum's website says the mission of the museum is to increase public knowledge of the formation of a distinctive American folk culture from a blending of European, African, and indigenous peoples. Its West Africa section is especially telling, given its emphasis on musical instruments, especially the drums. I asked the curator, were the slaves allowed to bring their drums into their captivity? No, she said, they were not. Like a good teacher, she added, they made them after they purchased their way into freedom in the colonies. She said more, prompting me to ask another question. Would you say the freed slaves made a significant contribution to the music of the colonialists? Yes, she said. Dancing to the drums is their gift to the colonists. Like a good observant, she added, they did so when the Europeans were marching to their drums. Marching to their drums. Just take a second and think about it. If you watch the YouTube video of the Kurdish Newroz celebration in Amed, dancing 1 million people in unison is its most prominent feature. While you're watching it, reflect on the observation of Robert Gates, the Secretary of Defense in the Obama administration. Quote, the United States has more military musicians than diplomats. So it looks like more of us are still marching to the drums when we should be dancing to their beats. The slaves of West Africa and the Kurds of Middle East have it right. The peace of the world depends on the dancers and not the marchers of the world. May my fellow Kurds teach Turks, Persians, and Arabs some dancing in the coming years. Nowroz, Firozbeh. Happy Nowroz.